Welcome, everyone, to the Week 14 edition of the Player Prop Happy Hour. I'm your host, as always, Josh Larky, joined as always by my co-host, Ryan Reynolds. For our hardcore listeners and viewers out there, you'll notice that Ben Wolby is no longer with us. He has accepted a full-time position managing data scientist at ESPN Bet. Congratulations to Ben on a well-deserved promotion. We are going to have a few ESPN Bet lines this week in his honor, and we'll announce our new recurring guest for the show next week. I'm just going to dive right in. I really want to bet against Rachaad White this week. I'm going to take him under 61.5 rushing yards, minus 115 on ESPN Bet. Ryan, we've talked about this before. Tampa Bay's run game's been broken all this year, all of last year. Rachaad White is 8-4 this year on the under. The Falcons allow the 10th fewest rush yards a game to running backs at the 6th lowest yards per carry. Rachaad White's coming off a stretch now of at least 14 carries in 4 straight games. That's the first time all year that he's done that. It's actually pretty heavy workload for someone who, prior to this 4-game stretch, hadn't had double-digit carries in back-to-back and more than just back-to-back games. So despite this increased workload, Rachaad White's still 3-1 to the under over those past 4 games. White's averaging 3.7 yards per carry. The Falcons give up 3.7 yards per carry. At this rate, he would need 17 carries to hit the over. He's reached 17 carries less than half of his games this year. It's a bad matchup. We are going to bet against Rachaad White this week. Ryan, let's hear your first prop bet of the day.
I'm going to bet against Jake Browning under 22.5 completions at even money on DraftKings. You know, he looked like Peyton Manning in front of a national audience. He had 32 completions in that game. Jordan Vanek informed us a little while ago that Browning is going to be chalk in DFS this week. I want to bet against that in some fashion. I don't expect him to make tight window throws at a high rate like he did last week. He had 19 completions against the Steelers 2 weeks ago. I haven't forgotten that game. Could be a little windy in Cincinnati. Not bad enough where I'm overly concerned, but it's at least a minor positive in this matchup. I'm gonna take the under here at even money.
I like that one. Yeah, when Jordan informed us Browning was chalk, I think our reaction was not safe for work, but there was some head scratching. There might have been some profanity. We're going to bet against him this week. Folks, we should be betting on Ryan Reynolds at Ryan Reynolds NFL on Twitter. His expert picks and predictions for every game came out yesterday, Thursday, on the 33rdteam.com. And then tomorrow, Saturday, what he's betting on in each and every game will be released onto the site. We're just going to stick with the under, and I'm going to take George Kittle under 4.5 receptions. It's minus 160 on FanDuel. It's actually worse odds other places. You might say minus 160. That's so gross. Why would you ever bet on this? Well, let's think about it mathematically. Minus 160 implies about a 61% chance of this happening. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle have overlapped in 9 games this year. 9 games. And in those 9 games, Kittle is 8-1 to the under 4.5 receptions. He's only hit it once in those 9 games. Purdy has attempted more than 31 passes just once this year, so there's already pass volume concerns. That leads to why Kittle would have the lack of receptions. Plus, the Niners just happen to be 11-point favorites against the Seahawks. Tough to see them needing to pass much once again. Purdy gets there with passing yards. That's why I'm not betting an under on Kittle's yardage, is this offense has been historically efficient. But this is simply understanding that pass volume has really not been Kittle's friend. I think he's going to hit this under 75 to 80% of the time. So I think there's some value here, despite the initially gross appearing odds of minus 160. Ryan, I'm going to kick it back to you. Please give us a bet that is not minus 160 again. The producers are livid in my ear right now.
I'm going to take Josh Allen over 261.5 passing yards at minus 115 on DraftKings. He's 7-5 against this number on the season. He's thrown for over 300 yards against the Chiefs in each of his last 3 matchups. He's 4-1 against them against this number in his career. Chiefs defense was shredded by Jordan Love last week. Bill's season is on the line now. If Buffalo's going to make a playoff run, Josh Allen essentially has to go scorched earth. I want to lean into that a little bit. I want to bet on him in some ways. The spread's also moved in favor of Buffalo, despite ticket volume being on the Chiefs. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I like Allen to get it done here.
I like that. That's a bold take. We'll see on Sunday if that comes true. I'm gonna take an over now. We've done 2 unders. It's time for an over. I like Jerry Jeudy over 45.5 receiving yards. minus 105, just 105 juice on ESPN Bet. Jerry Jeudy 7-4 to the over this year. The Chargers allow the most passing yards per game, 290, and they allow the fourth most yards overall to wide receivers, 180. It's a dome game in Los Angeles. There's no weather concerns. And I think this is just a little bit of a disrespectful line. Jerry Jeudy is not having a great year, but it's not that bad. Jerry Jeudy over 45.5, minus 105, ESPN Bet. Shout out Ben Wolby. Ryan, what's your third and final prop bet of the day?
I just want to say, Josh, betting on Jerry Jeudy is like, it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but that number's way too low. I like that one. Dalton Kincaid, next up for me, over 38.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. The last time I bet an over on Dalton Kincaid, he got a concussion in London. Hope that doesn't happen here in Kansas City. He's beat this in 5 of his last 6 games when he's become a core component of this offense. The one time that he lost, he had 38 yards on the dot. Chiefs have been very good against tight ends this year, 4th fewest yards at 36 yards per game against position. That said, the only tight ends of note they've faced this year, TJ Hawkinson, 51 yards against Kansas City. Evan Ingram, 57 yards. Sam Laporta, 39 in his NFL debut. The thing I like the most about this play, Josh, is that the Kincaid's the new wrinkle in this offense. The Chiefs are actually used to playing Buffalo. This is something different than they haven't had to face before. And plus, most teams try to take the deep shot away from Allen, which is one of the reasons why I love Kincaid in general. Really like this line.
Yeah, I like that line too. Folks, again, Ryan Reynolds, NFL on Twitter. Check out his work on the33rdteam.com. Not everyone here that is listening to the show is exclusively a bettor, and for that, thank you. If you want some fantasy rankings, my fantasy rankings are on the33rdteam.com as well. And as we all know, this is week 14. We are now about 1 week away from the fantasy playoffs. Ryan and I co-authored an ultimate guide to the fantasy football playoffs. You should be checking that out if you want to win your league. We go over everything from schedule analysis for quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, sneaky flex plays that you can insert each of those weeks, the defenses that have the best matchups, the best game environments. It's all in there. And I don't think there's anything like it on the market. Ryan and I have not seen anything like it. This has been a staple in Ryan's portfolio for years. He was generous enough to let me join in on this one. And I think we did a good one here. We've talked about this, but this might be our FSWA submission. Would be the ultimate guide to the fantasy playoffs. Check that out. Let us know what you think. I'm going to end the show with another ESPN bet, and I'm going to stick in that same game, Ryan. I got a little jealous. You dropped 2 Bills overs. I've got another Bills over for the good people. We're going to take James Cook over 48.5 rushing yards, just minus 105. Minus 105 on ESPN Bet. James Cook is 7-5 on the over this year. He's averaged 4.8 yards per carry. The Chiefs have given up 4.8 yards per carry, coincidentally, second highest in the NFL. If we use those averages for some rough math, Cook needs about 10 carries to hit this over. Cook has at least 10 carries in 10 of 12 games this year. The workload's been consistent. The spread is only 1 point, so game script probably shouldn't be too much of an issue here for James Cook. The other thing I like is for those that are in the 6 states out there in the U.S. that have the Bet365 sportsbook, I like James Cook to reach 75 rushing yards at plus 450 odds. He's hit that more frequently already this year than those odds imply. And some of the games where he didn't hit it were obvious stinkers. Probably not going to hit it against the Eagles. Probably not going to hit against the Buccaneers. Sure enough, he didn't. So if we remove, the Jaguars didn't hit it there. If we remove some of the games where it's kind of obvious that he shouldn't have been as successful, you start to look and you go, wow, James Cook set up for some success. I would have priced that at probably plus 250, not plus 450. Folks, that is the Week 14 Player Prop Happy Hour. From myself, Josh Larky, from my co-host, Ryan Reynolds, from the 33rd team. Thank you, everyone.